All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and talk about sentence boundaries. This is the first concept that you really need to understand to know what type of punctuation mark to use in different situations, right? So here we go. In order to decide if a clause is independent, you must identify sentence boundaries. Independent clauses, you need to write this down somewhere, are clauses that can be their own sentence. They are completely independent from another clause. They are sentences, really. They're just called clauses because we're combining them in different ways. Okay, so here's an example. So those artists who look good on camera have a greater chance of success than those who do not. Examples are not difficult to find. Now you're probably going to notice that there are two different complete thoughts here. So where exactly is the sentence boundary? That's what I want you to determine. Well, it's right there, okay? Those artists who look good on camera have a greater chance of success than those who do not is a complete thought. That is a end. That's an independent clause. And then what follows is also an independent clause. Examples are not hard to find. So the vertical bar here, guys, represents a sentence boundary. Whatever's on either side of a sentence boundary is an independent clause. Just think of it as a complete thought, a complete sentence. It could be a complete sentence, okay? So here's another one. A mosquito was poking at my forearm, and the batter seemed to blur into the woods behind home plate, and we weren't playing to win, only to play. So where's the sentence boundary? Where does one thought end and the other one begin grammatically? Well, you may notice that after forearm there's a comma in the word and. That's a comma with a coordinating conjunction, so that's grammatically correct. Where are we grammatically incorrect? That's where I want you to think when it comes to the sentence boundary. It's right there after plate. Two different thoughts. And we weren't playing to win, only to play is its own independent clause. An independent clause must have, at minimum, a subject and a verb. It likely is going to have an object as well. All right, so it's going to have someone doing something likely to an object of some sort. He threw the ball, right? Something like that. Very important as we go through the punctuations, guys, is that you cannot link two independent clauses with just a comma. It's against the rule. It's called a comma splice. Just can't do it. So let's take a look here, right? A mosquito was poking at my forearm, and the batter seemed to blur into the woods behind home plate, and we weren't playing to win, only to play. So now we have to determine from the sentence boundary what type of punctuation is appropriate. Okay? Well, we know that the underlined portion is incorrect because earlier we already determined there was a sentence boundary after the word plate. So we need something. We can't leave it the way it is. That's not correct. That is a run-on sentence. I guess it's called a fused sentence. Excuse me. What can't we put in a sentence boundary? Well, we can put a period, couldn't we? That would make sense. It's the end of a sentence. So we go with B there, and that one works. Here's another one. They call her Diane of Wolves. The wildlife biologist Diane Boyd studied wolves in their native habitat in a remote wilderness in the Northwest. What do you think? Okay. And the underlined portion should be wildlife and wolves and wildlife. So what do you think we should do here? All right. Looks good, doesn't it? They call her Diane of Wolves. Period. That makes sense. We shouldn't really make any changes here. Sorry that now the underlined portion appears, of course. You see? Now we have an underlined portion, now we have two functioning clauses, two independent clauses linked by a period, which makes a lot of sense. That's what you should have. Here's another one. That one belongs to the apartment manager who lives upstairs. Then there's the broad, rattling plastic mannequin of the seamstress who lives downstairs. So can we put a comma there is the question. Find the sentence boundary. That one belongs to the apartment manager who lives upstairs. That's the end of a thought. So we know that we cannot link two independent clauses with just a comma. All right, so what do we want to fix it with? Well, there's, could we go with F, no change? No, it's broken. Upstairs period, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we know that that's a positive answer. We're going to keep it in mind. Upstairs, comma, meanwhile, no, because it means we're going to be linking two independent clauses. How about upstairs, comma, but? Because now we would have independent clause linked with a coordinating conjunction. Yes, that looks like it's going to function, but we lose the then, and so that's not going to work for us. And so we just want to keep it the way G has it for us. Okay, it's simple. It's the simple, cleanest way to do it. How about this? Amalia Hernandez bowed gracefully before the crowd. Many viewers stood and applauded, showing their appreciation for the performance they just witnessed. Find the sentence boundary. Well, after crowd, right? Amalia Hernandez, or Amelia. Hernandez bowed gracefully before the crowd. That's the end of a thought. Okay? So we know, now if you take a look at your answer choices, C and D both have a period after crowd. So now we have to determine, using our other grammatical understandings, to determine whether or not C or D is correct. So if we went with just the word many viewers stood and applauded, showing their appreciation for the performance they just witnessed. That works. Let's go to the other one, just to double check with our ear. While many viewers stood and applauded, showing their appreciation for the performance they just witnessed. Nope, doesn't work. So we know the answer there is C. Those are sentence boundaries. Find your sentence boundary and then understand which punctuation mark you have to use as a result.